everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Anthony Mills. I am the Executive Director of Global Innovation Institute, and I'm glad that you could join us today. This is our June 2025 webinar, and we host these webinars monthly to continue to develop our knowledge and understanding and an in-depth awareness of all things innovation and develop additional innovation capabilities. So whether you're watching live with us today or you're watching the recording, I want to thank you for joining us and being a part of our community and a part of the the webinar series. What I'd like to do now is to introduce to you our guest speaker today and tell you about him. And after I introduce him, I will turn it over to him. So our guest today is Mr. Karan Jain. Karan is the founder and CEO of NayaOne, a leading financial technology company that's bridging the gap between financial institutions and the fintech ecosystem. He is a multidisciplinary CXO with over 20 years of experience and expertise in strategy, building complex trading platforms, delivering products to market, and developing and leading high-performance teams. Karan is also a highly regarded finance technologist and a third-time entrepreneur with an in-depth understanding of the finance and tech ecosystem, where he brings a unique perspective and real-life learnings from both financial institutions and the startup trenches. He is a former CIO and was recognized as a top 30 CIO in the UK. Karan also serves as an advisor to trade associations, regulatory working groups, and think tanks, as a subject matter expert and growth advisor in the domains of digital transformation, cybersecurity, fintech partnerships, and data. Karan, along with his company NayaOne, are based in London, UK. So today, Karan is going to be talking to us about the use of safe digital sandbox for de-risking new innovations. And indeed, as AI innovation continues to accelerate, regulatory engagement and infrastructure readiness become crucial. Karan will explore how enterprises can leverage a secure digital environment to safely test and scale AI-enabled solutions and accelerate overall AI adoption. He'll also share insights from NayaOne's work across the markets and highlight what's next for ecosystem collaboration at the frontier of fintech and AI. This is important to all of us as we too seek to scale up these new solutions in our organizations. So with that, I'll turn it over to Karan. Please join me now in welcoming Mr. Karan Jain. Karan, the floor is all yours.
Anthony, thank you so much. Pleasure to be here. Grateful for the invitation. Hello, everyone. Hopefully, good afternoon and good evening, and not too much of good mornings. I'm Karan. As Anthony introduced me, I'm based out of London, and it's a pleasure to be here. I'm just going to go ahead and pull up my presentation, but it'll be great if you can share where you're dialing in from, and if you're working with AI today at work. It gives me, and if you're able to give roles as well, that helps me just, steer my presentation to make sure it's most valuable to you. That would be grateful. Let me share my presentation now. Okay. All right, you can see that? Good?
Yes.
A little bit about us. As Anthony mentioned, we're London headquartered. We've been in business since 2019. Our customer base is large enterprises, and we work with banks, insurers, governments, ministries, regulators, central banks, and as much as sometimes automobile. So basically, the point is, if you're a large enterprise and you're looking to work with technology, we make that technology adoption faster within the risk appetite. And the markets we operate in is UK, US, Canada, as well as number of countries within the GCC region. So the topic today is really around what is rapid valuation of AI. I'd love, and I'll just pull up the chat here because I can't see it. What is when you hear that, I just want to get a bit of participation in terms of what you think that is when we talk about rapid valuation of AI. Hopefully in context of work.
Yeah, it looks like some people are using Microsoft Copilot at work, where there's maybe
Yeah,
their colleagues aren't.
yeah,
I
yeah.
had someone recently tell me they found me online by using Copilot.
Wow, that's getting it's getting pretty nifty out there. So one of the biggest things, as Anthony explained, like our business, our platform helps enterprises validate and evaluate technologies before they buy, right? And then enter AI. And the biggest change is that when we're talking about valuation of AI, it's not just technology. It actually goes back to the age-old concept of people, process, and technology. Because you bring in AI technology into the organization, it's not only just the technology, because of the impact of AI, it's very much about the people. It's about the adoption rate by the people. And it's like, what is the impact of bringing AI onto the existing processes? I'd say this is going to have a internet level impact, if not more, when it comes to it's the biggest change program one I would probably ever see, right? In terms of the impact it brings. And with any change impact, it has to consider people and process. And I just wanted to position that up front as we talk about this, because AI valuation very much in the market that I see will talk about, okay, whether this model is good versus that model. It's actually not about that, especially in the context of enterprises. It's very much about how do we embed the technology and its impact within the organization. Okay, so we've seen AI everywhere. There's enough headlines. I don't think I need to talk anybody through this website, through this slide, because my LinkedIn feed is full of AI. Every now and then I'll get a quantum news, but mostly it's filled with AI tools and the impact of AI. But there is a dilemma in terms of enterprises wanting to adopt, and some of the challenges that we see are really around. We've seen in the last 18 to 24 months, we've seen, okay, it started with people basically going, okay, I've got 50 use cases. I've got 10 use cases. And the next organization will show up, I've got 50 use cases. The next one shows up, I got 200. And basically I was on a panel in a large institution. Basically, I've got 799. We were just waiting for one more. And we're going to have 800 use cases. And I was like thinking there, I'm like, so what? You can have a big spreadsheet full of use cases where you can apply. And then contrary to that, I was speaking to another organization where they've got 5 use cases that are actually going live. And I don't need to tell you which one actually has the highest ROI in that situation. It is basically the people, starting small, getting it aligned, and actually getting even a few into production to start using it internally. So I think there's a big. So the point that I want to leave you with this particular slide, that is, when it comes to AI, Gen AI adoption, it's not about how many use cases does one have, because there is going to be no end of use cases. And once we've got 100 use cases in production, there's going to be another 50 to consolidate those 100, right? The thing is, the muscle memory, or the muscle to build, is how can you take from idea to production? By production, I mean getting the ROI out of that. That's my main point. We've seen public scoring that goes on. There's a few of those around in a few regions. I've got a love-hate relationship with this, because in one way it is a little bit of benchmarking. In other way, it drives insane amount of FOMO for organizations to just take action. It's like the action's not really calculated. And I think you'll see as I go through my discussion today that it has to come down to the impact, and the impact can start small, especially with AI, given the impact it can have and the risk associated with AI. Now, what are the main reasons that we're seeing for Gen AI adoption, right? So number one, and this is very much top-led, is don't want to be left behind, right? Basically, we don't know the impact this thing will have, but we're pretty sure this is going to have an impact. So we don't want to be left behind. right? So there's that camp. Now, within that, I find some organizations will be, you know what, we're just going to wait. We're just going to let the dust settle in the market and then we're going to go. The challenge I find with that approach is AI is not a product. It's a concept. It's an approach. It's a muscle you need to build, right? Because again, it involves people and process. It's not like you're going to buy one product, plug it in, done. No, AI is going to be part of our day-to-day life going forward. So it is a muscle. And even though we don't know how whatever we buy is probably going to change, it's really about building that out. So don't want to be left behind is a thing, but within that there's a camp which is I'll just wait. I'll just wait for the winner to emerge in AI, and then we'll buy that product. And my point to you is that may work for you, but please do consider that AI is not one product. It's a concept. It's a skill. It's a mindset at the end of the day, right? The second big reason we see is building the workforce of the future, right? So it's not, and I think we've all seen this plenty of times, which is, and I agree with this, you're not going to be replaced by AI. You're going to be replaced by people who know how to use AI. And it couldn't be truer in my opinion, right? I hadn't touched coding and tech for a good 15 years because of AI. I've actually had to start installing. I'm not saying you have to go to coding, but you have to go as far as you can to understand how these tools and products work, because it's important that it's learning a new language almost, right? Learning how to read and write a new language. The third big reason why we see enterprises buy or going through the GenAI adoption is efficiency, right? It's if you think about an enterprise, and I know it doesn't always apply to every enterprise, but if there's a profit and loss side of things, you can work on top line use cases, or you can work on efficiency use cases. I'd say 95% of the use cases that we see are related to bottom line and not top line. And there's two reasons for that. Number one, I think the way industry is stacked is very much about cost control before it's about, okay, let's make some more top line. Top line's obviously harder, but also I find that it's easier to apply GenAI in the efficiency domain versus top line. Because if it's top line, probably going to involve a customer. You don't want AI touching your customer just yet, but you're comfortable that, okay, can it start handling some of the back office activity? Okay, so those are the three main reasons we see that are driving GenAI adoption in the market. And third one being efficiency is probably the biggest. Building the workforce of the future is probably the second. And there's an underlying one, which is, that basically is the trigger to get going, is don't want to be left behind. Okay. I'm used to saying any questions, but I can't say that because it's a it's a webinar. Okay, so we have in the last year alone, in the last 12 months, we have probably helped 12 plus enterprises go through GenAI adoption, and this is the framework we use. It's not a fancy McKinsey one, but it's a one that it's simple and it works for us and it works for our customers who are large enterprises, which is education, experimentation, and then scaling. Sounds obvious when you say it that way, but really it's the people, it's the experimentation and getting the process right, and then incrementally scaling. So just before I go any further, maybe another opportunity for an engagement here, which is in your organization today, if you saw a new AI product in the market, how do you get access to that technology? How would you get access to that technology?
That's a great question.
Anyone?
If you guys have any input on this, feel free to put it in the chat or to raise your hand.
A good point. I should have said that. Please do put it in the chat. I've now figured out how to open chat while I'm talking, so I can keep it
Yeah,
watching.
I changed the setting
Thank
there.
you. So, how do you get access to technology? In our experience, what we find is to get access to technology, and I'll share the slides why Anthony, is most organizations have to go through some crazy 50-step process to get access to technology, because we don't want to just let any technology come into the organization, right? And when I was in a prior to NayaOne, I was like, yeah, but there's so much technology out there in the market. All I want to know is whether this is suitable to me and my organization. Why do I have to spend 6 to 9 months bringing one product into the organization? And that's what led to us starting NayaOne. But if you think about that in the context of GenAI, I wish actually I would have brought that slide. But if you just even Google what are all the model releases in the last 3 months, I think that page is got at least 18 things between Anthropic, Llama, OpenAI. The speed at which technology is coming out does not match the adoption rate of an enterprise, right? And the current process of bringing technology in is built for trying to buy an SAP or trying to buy an Oracle. And I'm not saying that the risk is reduced by bringing something else in, but there needs to be a faster way of adopting technology. With NayaOne, with our customers, we're bringing that down to weeks, if not days, depending on the technology. Last time OpenAI, I think it was a few weeks ago, released their new product Codex, I had my WhatsApp going off, basically like, okay, when can we have access to it on the platform? And because otherwise, for our enterprise customers to go through the old ways or the traditional ways, it will take them 9 to 12 months. And by the way, Codex version 18 would be out by then. So it's about that, getting access to technology upfront. And the reason that's important, tying it back to the rapid valuation piece, is, well, it can't be very rapid if it's going to take you 9 months to get access to technology, right? And we'll talk about the valuation piece as well, but it's not very rapid if it's taking you 9 months to get access to this product. Also, going back to the whole people, process, technology, the way you grow the talent, the way you grow the skills of people within the organization is by giving them, taking it to putting it in a safe, secure way, right? So if I look at how the NayaOne platform is set up, you've got the vendors, right? And where it says vendors, you could have models there. Basically, we see, I break AI into 4 categories. Okay, I break it into pure models, right? So models you can, GPT and so forth, or sorry, OpenAI and Llama, for example. Then it's native GenAI companies. It's just GenAI products to help you do something. Then it's agents from existing traditional vendors, right? So for example, we all know ServiceNow, we all know Salesforce, those big products are now releasing agents. So that's another source of AI. And fourth is really the AI infrastructure. Once you bring it in, what are you going to do with it, type of thing? And I'd put ourselves in that fourth category, but we help you actually consume AI from the first 3 sources, right? So you've got access to that through the enterprise gateway that we have. The second problem we see is, how do we get access to data that we can apply AI to? Because you've got Data Privacy Act, you've got risk, you got compliance. There's a whole lot of hesitation I'm seeing come through. I think people are resonating with this, and it's just super hard. Like, data is the biggest asset in most organizations. You can't just let it loose, right? So what we've done is, in the market, in our data set, like in the data library, we've got tons and tons of synthetic data that's highly relevant and high fidelity. That means you've got like synthetic PII, transaction data, insurance claim data. You've got photos of insurance claims. You've got deepfake IDs, right, to basically able to test the products that your organization might need. And the third thing is we've got this air-gapped external environment sandbox. If you bring it all together, I can now find tech. I have a secure way or a rapid way of bringing technology in. I have a rapid access to data, and I can access secure environments where I can now collaborate with an AI company to see what the product and the use could be. But also, more importantly, especially when it comes to AI, I can now bring in my colleagues into the same workspace so we can all learn together on this. And I just wanted to explain how a platform works and how we work with our clients, because then the next couple of slides will make sense. You get that? Now, we've seen this one before: educate, experiment, and scale. So let me just go through how we address each one of those things, or what we do with our clients and the lessons we've learned. So when I think about educate, we do educate in 3 ways, right? Is basically running hands-on immersion session, right? So I'm going to use, that visual is one of my colleagues basically delivering a immersion training, like ahead of a session, where then 40 people from the mortgage team will go in and play with a couple of different AI companies' products on mortgage-specific use cases, without any of them having been brought into the organization. So going back to our people, process, technology and the rapid evaluation, they're able to do that for an hour, 2 hours, depending however long the organization wants to do. But it helps them basically get hands-on with the technology and really for yourself understand what's the art of the possible. And then the other one is the exploration zone, which is like going into the marketplace and you start feel comfortable with the technology. You know, no matter whatever you do, you're not going to break anything. You start to feel comfortable with the technology and not have the fear of we're going to break anything. And, usually security teams do have that fear, and rightfully so. They'll end up blocking everything. The other thing is hackathons. So we've had the platform. This is an example where we basically had Barclays did, from memory, around 1,000 people, 140 teams across 9 different cities. But what it did was those 1,000 people were not all technologists. They were risk, compliance, business units, innovation teams, and engineers and data scientists kind of created into pods, working through 15 or 16 use cases. And that just furthered the organization. Now, I want to point out one more thing that we see working really well is when organizations are running hackathons. So 2 benefits. Number 1, you're giving the tools to your teams that they otherwise wouldn't have access to other than their own personal laptops, right? Outside the Copilot and a couple of agents that are getting rolled out. Number 2, organizations are able to channel those hackathons, not into like build whatever you can, but actually here's the 10 use cases, here's the 15 use cases that are important to the organization. Here's some synthetic data and here's all the tooling you can want. Go create something, right? And we see that every time those 3-4 components line up, we see magic happen. Almost a nice repeatable playbook there. Now, when it comes to experimentation, so what's happened so far is we've given people access to the platform. They've gone in there, they've explored different tools, they've brought in new tools, they've done hands-on training, they've collaborated with other business units to, as a group, level up. But now it's like, okay, now we got use cases. Now we all went at it and we've got, we got a couple of winners out of this. So we should actually take this forward. Let's say, most common ones we see is document extraction, right? Like now, and OCR technology has been around for a while, but OCR combined with GenAI is a game changer. Is this like, especially if your business or your organization deals with a lot of documentation of sorts, it's a game changer for you. Like even this morning, I was talking to a very large public organization, and they're like, well, every time we write a policy, we don't know if we're going to end up contradicting another policy. And these are internal policies and not even the external policies that they write. And it's like, okay, it would be great if you had a product where I could write my policy, submit it, and it can tell me if I've contradicted something, and it could basically help me create that. Now, if you're in one of the people or on the receiving end of those policies, you know how valuable that is to not have contradicting policies applied to your day job. So going into experimentation through the platform, you can get access to the latest GenAI companies, latest models, and also you have oversight and compliance from that point. We've got the integrated data that we spoke about, synthetic public, relevant to your firm, and it's secure. And you've got the ability to build and test, which is the infrastructure part that I was referring to, right? So you've got the infrastructure layer, you've got the data layer, you've got the tooling, and you have it all integrated to be able to operate in one place and bring your colleagues on a journey with you and build it without having to beg, borrow, and steal through internal risk and compliance. And actually what we find is security and risk and compliance usually really like us, because then if they know all the AI work and vendor work is happening through NayaOne, the risk posture is already in place. So they actually lift the gates a little bit more. Okay, now case studies. So these are some of the case studies we see, right, in terms of like foundational models, so LLM selection. Now this is getting, how do I say, kind of draws on my last point, one of my last points, which is by the time an organization brings an AI product in, the product is probably moved on by 3 versions, and it's a never-ending cycle. So which makes AI adoption really hard. So from a rapid valuation point of view, what we are helping, some of the major use cases we're seeing around here is ability to validate which models are going to be good. Because I think as the world is getting better and sharper in this space, we're seeing a lot of regional models come through. And that's, again, have limited user base, so hence need to be also air gap. But then you've got the security accuracy, and within that, like obviously hallucination being the big one. And then you've got augmentation. So we're seeing on the engineering side and code development side. And then you've got the knowledge base, which kind of goes back to the, if you've got a lot of documentation, it's not only about the policies, it's the policy simplification, but it's the knowledge base, right? Which we all thought SharePoint search was gonna sort us all out, but it hasn't. And putting that on the knowledge base really does help. Now, again, you'll have these slides. I'm not going to walk you through each one of these, but like, we have customers, as you can see, like, they use it for hallucination mitigation, cloud service provider evaluation, rich vector database, Copilot adoption, conversational agentic AI is a big one right now, contract summarization, document extraction I mentioned, call center or contact center is another big one, engineering is another big one that we see in areas. We go into the detail here from in terms of like, what were the key teams involved? What was the approach that was taken? What were the KPIs they set and what were the conclusions? Similarly for the conversational one. And you can see some of the technologies that are available. So again, I don't think I actually mentioned, you can literally have smallest of models that are available in the market all the way up to NVIDIA through the NayaOne Enterprise Gateway, without having to onboard. I just wanted to put a slide in there for cybersecurity because again, that's a big use case for us. So fraud, cybersecurity, efficiency, GenAI, onboarding and IDV. These are some of the biggest use cases that we're seeing by the organizations we work with. And lastly, if we talk about scale, This is basically having a watchtower for the GRC, putting automated testing and centralized but decentralized policy in place, right? And I can sense, like, I wouldn't spend too much time on it, but I just wanted to still share this, which is where we started was be free to explore and self-learn and collaborate, then have a structured place to do experimentation, then have codified guardrails to help us go to production is the thing that helps go from idea to production to idea to impact to ROI. And in AI, especially, or GenAI, more accurately, it is about taking people and process on a journey with you. Again, being one of my key points. Just trying to do tech alone wouldn't help, but you can absolutely use tech. I call NayaOne a tech platform, something like that, to help you in that journey. Now, if I was to just plot this across the graph and the journey we see, which is around education, experimentation, and scale, and what that means. From that point, again, some use cases, AI use cases that we're seeing, some insurance ones we're seeing. I'm zooming through this, Anthony and team, because I don't know who is here from banks, who is here from insurance. And if there's nobody here, I might be not using their time most valuably, but happy to pick anything up in Q&A, as well as if you drop me a line, happy to go in detail on any of these. The AI opportunity we are seeing is having an AI sandbox where you can run some of these collaborations, these hackathons, but also bring compliance along with the journey, because there's only so much you can achieve through compliance committees where you're having discussions that are paper-based, but not being actually able to. The most successful ones we've seen is where compliance is in the platform with the team building it and actually understanding the risk associated with it and mitigating it with them. And the other thing that we're seeing quite a lot traffic-wise is AI Center of Excellence. And it's almost like, how do I put it politely? Some people are doing it really nice, really good, really well with the right intentions. In other places, I find it becomes an area of control, right? So a nice way to do AI Center of Excellence is what I would call centralized, decentralized, which is you centralize the practices, but you decentralize the distribution of resources and let people, again, be free to operate within the guardrails and guidelines. And I see a lot of good practices around that. So I just wanted to flash that up. And then we have, again, as I said, it's not McKinsey, but we do have a framework that basically helps you go from self-assess, or we can help you assess in terms of where are you in your Gen AI adoption, where do you need help, and what would help you get to depending on your goal. And I think that's it. How did I do for time?
You're doing really well. We got time for lots of discussion and questions and so forth. And
Do talk fast.
yeah, that's fine. And I was sort of chuckling a little bit at one of the slides because, one of the points, the applications was hallucination mitigation. And that's a phrase that 3 years ago, no one was talking about. And we had not seen that need for hallucination mitigation. And the world has changed a lot in the last few years with these applications. So we do have in the webinar here, we do have a formal question platform for asking questions. And Karan, what I want to do is just sort of pick up some of the comments here in the chat and then also some of the questions. And we'll kind of pick off of those and try to answer some of these. And I have some questions too, but we'll work on the audience's feedback first. So, Barbara was mentioning that her company is hesitant about using AI and senior managers are reluctant to proceed. And admittedly, I think that's, a lot of organizations, depending on the resources they have, can be a very time-consuming activity. So below a certain size, if you don't have the resources to allocate to it, can be hard to kind of keep up with this, and I can understand that. Folashade had mentioned that it can take somewhat longer time for us because you want to be sure that the user will accept it and adopt it, and it can be customized for your
100%.
process and environment less. And I think that that's exactly where a platform like NayaOne, a solution like that, shines. It gives you an opportunity in a air gap sandbox with synthetic data to play with it, and do that sort of a pilot with people and see will they adopt it, will they use it, and if not, then you move on to something else, right?
I'll give you if I may give you an
Yeah,
example, because that's triggered a use case in my head that we've seen in the platform, and it also answers Amrit's question around the real world example. So we're working with an organization that basically wanted to provide an augmentation help to wealth relationship managers, right? And it's like, okay, that's really good. Okay, they got all these and they're like, okay, this thing's going to cost millions and millions to implement, deploy on everyone's iPad. Plus, it's got AI. I don't know. Let me be okay. Everyone stop. Why don't we do this? Why don't we put a prototype in the sandbox and we invite all the RMs in and see if they're actually going to use it? And we can still have it on their iPads. Give it for 3 months. Let's see how we go. And actually, what we found was for certain demographic of RMs, it worked really well. For certain, it didn't. And actually, they would typically use it for preparation, not use it live with the client ever. So that meant you were able to save a ton of cost by not deploying in the iPad, just put it on their laptop. So that's a real life example in terms of like the adoption piece that people and bringing the people and technology together. Sorry, that comment and your comment just triggered that use case in my head.
yeah, and that's great, and that's exactly the point of having this sort of sandbox to do this sort of what if scenarios and test in. Karan, I gotta imagine that a lot of times it's like organizations evaluate vendors and platforms and then decide not to deploy them, right? Just as much as they decide to deploy them, right?
Do you want to have a guess how many times? What percentage would you say will be things go forward and things don't go forward?
I'm gonna take
60
a
40.
guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say 60-40, but I figured that's wrong.
No, it's 60% don't go forward.
Yeah, 60% don't go forward. 40, actually, that's actually I'm surprised that 40% do. I wouldn't have been surprised if you said only 20% go forward, but 40% is not bad, you know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
what that means is that 60% of the time they're saving themselves the time and
100%.
headaches and a lot of money from not deploying something they shouldn't have deployed, right? And that's the whole part of the innovation process is to de-risk it, to do as much learning as possible as early on up front in the process as possible. I mean, who wants to spend 18 months trying to deploy something only to discover it was the wrong thing to deploy, right? When I can do it in 3 weeks with a platform like this. Go ahead.
And honestly, like, this is what we run into. We're talking to people and be like, okay, yeah, but I had to buy it. I'm like, why'd you have to buy it? It's because I spent 18 months trying to find out if this was the right thing. And like, what'd you find out? It wasn't the right thing. I was like, so why'd you buy it? Because I'd spent 18 months looking for something. And 18 months into a 3-year timeline, I can't restart for another 18 months. I'm gonna have to buy this thing and sign the organization up for 5 years.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like that
of bad
cognitive
user
bias,
experience.
right? It's that cognitive bias of, we're committed. Like it's like a sunk investment syndrome.
Yes.
The sunk investment, we're committed. Like even though it's the wrong choice, we have to keep going forward because we just spent 18 months doing this, right? So if you can get out of that cycle of 18 months and figure this out in a few weeks, you don't have that same level of commitment, and you can overcome those sort of biases. So I think it has a tremendous value there. Here's another comment from Barbara. She says, I see there are main barriers of most companies. They're afraid that the AI data can't be trusted, not sure about all the sourcing of the data. There's concern about viruses and cyber attacks coming in through the AI, someone revealing sensitive information from our company, protecting trade secrets from getting into the AI. Karen, I think all of those are valid concerns. My first question is, let's take those one at a time. The
Mhm.
data, you have synthetic data, you have over 3 billion data points. How did you develop or source that data? Where did it come from?
Incremental. So, we had our first customer is like, hey, we need PII data on UK. I'm like, huh, okay, well, let's build a generator. Okay. Next customer is like, oh, we need a UK synthetic PI data. Okay, cool. Yeah, we have that. Next one's like, okay, we need transaction. I'm like, oh, okay,
Right.
cool. Let's build that. So the more we go on and the more customer and the diversity we have in our customers, we've got a library of generators that we can
Okay.
now use to create. But also because of the work we do with all these enterprises and the 2,000 vendors that are plugged in, they, we get a lot of signals to keep improving this data.
Right. Good. So you've developed your own synthetic data generators, and
Yeah,
knowing the structure and the statistical distribution of these data, you're able to
correct.
generate realistic surrogate data. And I'm sure you could create, knowing the right attributes, you could create a data generator for any type of data set for the most part.
That's right. That's right.
Now, what about concerns about cyber attacks coming in through the AI or other viruses and so forth? Is that a reality now?
It 100% is. So one of the, well, one of many tests our customers will run. So far in this conversation, we're really spoken about adoption, evaluation of AI products, but part of that evaluation is security, is performance, is sustainability, or how is it, how well is it going to run into the future? So if I focus on the security piece, and it is actually one of the hardest things in the market right now, is to have a continuous security test on the AI technology one is using. So I'll give you an example. I won't name the vendor here because it's a large vendor that most organizations use, right? And probably guess who. They basically update the underlying it's not an open AI, but like equivalent model, right? Without giving you and I any alert, should we have a policy say every new model needs to go through robust testing, right? So that's a fairly big vendor. Everyone uses. So if there's an issue there, everyone's going to be impacted. But you just take that and you go, I'm gonna have the same problem with 10,000 vendors as they go to production. So there's a lot of investment in the market right now to mitigate those cybersecurity elements. Um, there's hallucination, there's cybersecurity, there's jailbreaking. So some of the users actually asking for things that they shouldn't really be asking. That's actually probably the most low-hanging fruit when it comes to defense against AI risk,
Hmm.
is that they shouldn't be jailbroken. So, yeah, cybersecurity risk through agents is very real. But if you're testing and working with them, no problem, a sandbox. But also you can test them for those risks in the platform.
Is there a way? I mean, going back to this company you're referring to that was not updating the customers about their platform updates. So maybe in that case, you just have to assume, every week there could potentially be an update. Is there a way to go through a validation cycle in the sandbox just on a regular routine basis, like weekly or something, or
Yeah, yeah,
monthly?
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. I
Yeah,
assume that you could set that up. Yeah.
yeah. So we have several customers actually who've, let's say they got 20 agents live
Hmm.
inside their organization. So I'd say banks because they're pretty risk averse. Now, and that's in US actually. And what we've set up is basically a testing rig, the agent that's just running and it's evidencing, yep, we're good. Yep, we're good. And if it evidences, no, we're not good, it triggers the customer to go, okay, you need to do something about it. And also because of like a normal third-party risk management process or agent, AI risk management framework, you're kind of, the impact or the radius, disruption radius of that particular AI tech.
Okay. So yeah, that's good. I think that's a good practice, probably, especially if you don't trust the vendors. And then the last point in that was, staff who are using these tools accidentally and inadvertently revealing trade secrets or sensitive information through the platform. Is that a possibility? And if so, how do companies safeguard against that?
Yeah. So there's two, I'll split that in two. One is like, how do we mitigate on the platform? Because you could be looking at hundreds of AI products, and how do you protect against one of the employees just uploading wrong sensitive documentation? So the platforms doesn't allow downloading data and doesn't allow uploading data. So you can't, you say from a data leakage point of view, you can't let it out. But then from a, some of the practices that we're seeing as it's moving towards production is it's still in a confined environment. And what that means is if I upload the doc, if I'm allowed to upload doc, I upload the document, there's certain trigger keywords that either redact it or reject it, right? Same way, this happens in our emails, depending on the organization. Sometimes you put sensitive information there, like, hey, you really shouldn't be sending a file attached that says customer account details to an external email address, right? So those controls exist on email today. The similar sort of controls are being put in to the organizations.
It's like mostly a policy issue and the proper use of policies.
Yeah. But controls, people make mistakes, genuine mistakes.
So let's take on a question here from Folashade. She wants to know, how do you handle compliance issues, for example, plagiarism, ethics, and privacy issues that can be associated with a data source? Does that question make sense to you?
It's like a reflective questions, which means I can see like so many angles on it. I don't know which angle to pick.
Okay.
Because, for example, what we see is from a plagiarism point of view, or ethics. So most organizations will have an ethics and a privacy policy, right? That gets basically dropped into the sandbox, and the way the sandbox or their platform is configured takes care of that. Plagiarism, that's a new one. Well, not new one. I don't usually come across that because most people, depends. Depends on the depends on the
Yeah,
use
the AI
case.
platforms are doing their own plagiarism, so
Yeah, I think it's a much
generative AI.
deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're generating stuff left, right, and center. So plagiarism, I'd love to dig deeper what you mean, but from an ethics privacy point of view, you can drop those policies into the platform. It can be configured to make sure it's got the guardrails, data source, and cost of investment. So I'm not following that part.
Yeah, but otherwise, there's policies and things that you can build into
Yeah.
the tools and so forth.
Yeah,
Okay.
the whole thing's a compliant. Basically, it takes your GRC, governance risk compliance policies. It takes your third-party risk management on top. It takes your cybersecurity and data, and it basically takes all that, puts it into a platform that allows you to access technology fast, be able to collaborate and co-create, while adhering to all these policies, right? So controls are baked in.
Yes, absolutely. Let's move on to another question, and the question. This one question comes from Abdul Karim Adamu, and who is at NNPC. That's the Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation, in their Research Technology and Innovation Unit, and he wants to know, how can innovation units like their RTI collaborate with startups in your platform? And I'll expand the question more broadly. Let's think about things outside of the financial sector that also have different regulatory requirements. I mean, looking forward into the future, Karan, what do you see in terms of other types of organizations using it? So, and including their innovation using it to collaborate with startups. So take that and unpack it for us.
Yeah, 100%. We actually work with non-financial institutions. What I was just processing, am I allowed to say publicly who they are? And basically, think about shipping ports. Think about energy companies. These are also NayaOne customers that use the platform to not only for AI adoption, but to engage with the ecosystem. I think that's where the question's stemming from. So how do I, as a RTI, work with the Nigerian fintech ecosystem, as well as the wider African ecosystem, as well as the ecosystem outside the African continent? So the way you do it is, if you have an NayaOne platform, you have that enterprise gateway. We onboard the companies you're interested in from the Nigerian or the African ecosystem, or anyone outside, and then you have the data sets, We'll work with you. We'll create some petroleum-specific data sets that are going to be relevant to your business. And then you've got the tooling to basically, you can engage with them to go, hey, guys, I've got a problem. Can you help me solve this? And we see this a lot now. Our organizations are getting clever. So it's a kind of a hybrid between a proof of concept and a hackathon, which is they will basically throw the problem out to the market and get the vendors or fintechs to basically respond technically, hey, I can solve your problem, because everyone's going to say I can solve your problem, but actually, here's a proof I can solve your problem.
Right. So
So
as
that's, yeah.
long as the startup has a platform that you can bring into this environment and test with the data set, then they're able to use the platform as a medium for collaboration.
Yeah, and there's a benefit there that we didn't speak about, that I didn't mention, is if we can't bring it in, there's most likely probably doesn't exist. So the vaporware catcher comes out. Believe it or not, still happens 20% of the time. Oh, can we onboard on your marketplace? Sure. Here's where you put your tech in. Oh, we'll come back later.
Yeah, they're trying to pre-sell it before they have a product. Um, so
That's okay.
so yeah, and so I think if a startup has a platform to test, then it can be brought into a sandbox, an air gap sandbox environment like this and tested. And I know, Karan, you and I have a mutual acquaintance in an organization in Saudi Arabia that's using your
Mm-hmm.
platform. I also know
Mm-hmm.
I've been to their innovation center, and I
Mm-hmm.
know they work with startups. They have an area where several startups are seated, but what I don't know is if they're yet testing those startups' platforms inside your environment yet. They have the potential to do so. I don't know if they are yet or not, but certainly there's the potential to do that.
Yeah, I'd say, they hypothetically they could be testing. Can neither
Yes.
confirm or deny.
Right.
They're hypothetically not only testing those tech companies, but actually co-building with, because where else are you going to co-build?
Just that's a great point. Thank you for mentioning that. This becomes your sandbox for actually building the innovation and co-creating together.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they bring in the platform, they test it, things don't work out right. Well, that's one of your learning cycles, right? Now, okay, let's go back and fix this, and co-create the solution together. Or the client says this isn't exactly what we need. Here's what we need. This is the platform for doing all that developmental testing and having a really nice place where you can have synthetic data and do it. And it feels like a production environment without being a production environment. To me, it's just a fantastic place for co-creation and collaboration.
Couldn't agree more, but I might be biased, Anthony.
You probably are, but that's okay. We'll forgive you. But I always see the potential there. So Folashade also mentioned about working with universities and students and so forth. Have you guys to date done anything with any universities?
Yeah, a few things. So I'm just trying to recall, universities have come in to run hackathons. So
Hmm.
basically give a lot of tech and data access to universities. And that would be either the entrepreneurial or the technology course or finance course, even trying to collaborate with someone else. With
Hmm.
like a tech counterpart course. Typically why they're coming to us, in that case, they're coming to us to have access to the tech ecosystem and the data sets. Those are not typically available to the university at ease. That's number one. Number two, we see a lot of banks, again, actually collaborating with universities on the platform. So they go, okay, I've got a GenAI problem, or I've got a data problem. I'm going to go talk to the AI faculty, or I'm going to talk to the entrepreneurial faculty. I'm going to give them the platform for a month with data sets and the problem statements. Because again, they can have the tech, right? They can bring the tech in, but now they got the data to then go, okay, how can I solve this problem?
Yeah, so that's a great answer. I think that makes sense. That it's really centered around universities dash industry partnerships and collaborations
Mhm.
where they're trying to work together on specific projects and applications and so forth. And I think,
And actually, we've seen that in all three continents that we work in. So in UK, in US, and in GCC.
yeah, okay. So that's a common occurrence then. That's great to
Hmm.
hear.
Hmm.
Because again, it's a great platform for collaboration between industry and universities to work together. on doing R&D, if you will.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
we have new algorithms or new ideas or new concepts. Let's use this environment as a place to prove them out. But
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
they need the synthetic data sets that you have. I think, to me, you have two pieces of value proposition here. You have the air gap sandbox, the platform, the environment, and on the other hand, you have the synthetic data because you built data generators, and having both of those are two main parts of the value proposition that universities and industry don't have otherwise. So
Yeah.
it's a
And
great.
then if you throw the enterprise gateway on top, which means now you got unrestricted access to technology that's getting released in the market, and you can bring in without having to go through the whole risk process of
Mhm.
onboarding. So that
So
really does bring it all together, the three things here.
yeah, okay, yeah, the enterprise gateway, and because you're serving as a gatekeeper for them. And talk to me a little bit more about what you're doing as a gatekeeper. Are you doing some sort of vetting and validation before you ever bring it into the platform?
We do a level of validation. I wouldn't say we go through third-party risk management because our job is to make sure they are vetted, but there's actual technology products at the end of it, not vaporware getting through, right? And not risky technology getting through. If we were to spend 3 months vetting a technology provider, doing the pen testing on them, that's not good because that the products are changing so often. We can certainly help our clients with that, but also what I've found is, Anthony, that our marketplace is become like you never see us advertise our marketplace anywhere or the enterprise gateway anywhere. It's always been inbound or our customers inviting the companies in there. So what it means is it's already high quality from that point. These are enterprise technology providers, small ones as well as large ones that are coming through. So there's a level of vetting done by our customers who are first bringing them in.
Hmm.
But yeah, there is a level of vetting. It's not TPRM, it's not full TPRM, and we make sure that the technology exists.
Okay. I have to ask I guess one last question, and you're probably not going to be able to answer this explicitly, but I imagine some of the third-party technology vendors have been harder to work with than others. So maybe some are a pain in the butt. I don't know.
It can be. We're all
Uh,
humans.
we're all humans. It's a good answer. But I mean, I assume it's not always the same. Some are just easier to work with than others. Some are more
I'd say
reliable.
99% plus are easy to work with.
Okay.
They're there to do a job. You're making the job easier. They have no reason to get in your way, right?
Mm.
The hard one is when they want, oh, well, can you get me in front of this enterprise? And I'm like, no, I'm not your extension of your sales team. I
Ah.
am not, right? Number one. It's like I'm
Oh.
not. First thing I say when I jump on a call with, if someone's connected, another founder or CEO to me, like, okay, really nice product. Just want you to don't think of me as your sales team. I'm gonna help provided you have a good product. You don't
Yeah.
need any more help than that. Because we level the playing field, we equalize sales and marketing budgets that come for companies at all levels, by being in because they all look the same
Yeah. Yeah.
in terms in on our platform. Um, and then the other one would be when the tech doesn't exist and they make all sorts of issues. Um,
Yeah.
but
If there's deficiencies in the tech, then that can just create problems that trickle downstream.
yeah,
Totally. So anyway, let's wrap it up. Barbara said, fascinating discussion. Thank you so much. And I just want to
thank
thank
you.
everyone for participating and thank you. Do you have any closing thoughts or comments you want to leave us with? Any nuggets of wisdom, Karan?
Oh, look, no more than what I've already shared, but I'll just recap, which is I think when we're thinking about AI adoption or GenAI adoption or AI evaluation, don't think of it just as tech. It is probably one of the biggest change programs we will witness. And really, we should be looking at how do we bring people and process on the journey with the technology on this in this one. Now, how do we bring the technology on the journey? This is going to be how do we bring people and process on the journey with technology. Um, Waiting for a final shot of okay, like as in this is going to be the winner technology, I'm going to buy it, is not the way because it's actually the skill set is how to work with AI, not how to work with a product.
Mhm.
Would be my second point. I feel like I should have a third one. I'd say output over volume is probably important, because you get what you learn from a small output will actually help you accelerate the volume.
Okay, well, very good, very thoughtful insights, and everyone was thanking you for your insights that were very insightful thoughts, and so I appreciate it as well. So, with that, again, I want to thank you, Karan, for your sharing your time
Thank
and
you,
insights
Anthony.
with us today, and your many years of expertise in this field, and the wonderful platform. I'll mention also that GInI has a partnership with NayaOne, and you can see that on our GInI website under our innovation resources and capabilities there, to help you kind of point towards this platform. And so I want to thank everyone, who's here with us today, and everyone watching the recording for your participation. And I wish you a great rest of your day, and we'll see you again next month. Thank you and take care.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Yes, thank you.